All right, welcome back. This is the fourth video of the NHL division projections for each team. This is the Pacific Division. Again, it's the fourth and final one. You got 8 teams here. Vegas, division winners last year, won the Stanley Cup. Congrats to the Vegas Golden Knights team and fans and whoever. Second place was the Oilers. They were bounced in the second round. Kings came in third, made the playoffs, bounced in the first round. Kraken got that wild card spot, made it to the second round in the Central Division playoffs. The Jets and Kraken swapped divisions during the playoffs because of the way the wild card seeds work. Flames, Canucks, Sharks, Ducks all miss the playoffs. That's all right. New season, new off season. Let's talk about where teams are. So starting off with Vegas. Gotta get my marker. I think they stay about the same. I think they're still cup contenders. There are a few minor questions like goaltending. You got Logan Thompson coming back. He's the only goaltender that's signed. Aside from Robin Lehner, is Robin Lehner going to come back? Is he going to play another NHL game again? What can we expect from him? There's question marks there that maybe the team knows and maybe we just, as fans, don't. But you got Logan Thompson who's there, promising young goaltender. Who do you bring back? Do you bring back Brossoit? Do you bring back Adin Hill? What does your tandem look like moving forward in net? You have John Quick still on the market, says he still wants to keep playing. Not sure what team's gonna take a chance on him. Maybe Vegas signs him as like a third goaltender. I don't know. I think John Quick wants to be at the very least a backup at the NHL level. We'll see. One other thing is they're probably going to lose Ivan Barbashev to free agency. It looks like he wants to test the free agent waters. So it's a little bit of scoring depth there. Barbashev played very well in Vegas. I don't know. I'd like to see him still in Vegas. I think he fits in Vegas pretty well. But nonetheless, pretty much the same team coming back. They're usually in the Western Conference Finals every year, it seems. So I don't see any reason why they won't continue to be Stanley Cup contenders. Oilers, it's kind of the same thing with the Oilers. They're going to run it back with a similar team. Questions are also goaltending. You got Campbell, you got Skinner. Campbell needs to bounce back. Skinner is good, not great. But at this point, good in an Edmonton net is it's just fantastic. You want great, but you'll take good because you haven't had good for so long. Still have some questions. They'll have Ekholm on the defense for an entire year, which will help. That'll be nice. But this team needs to get over this hump in the playoffs. There's a lot of emphasis on guys like Draisaitl and McDavid in the power play, but you can't just rely on those guys to get you over the hump. They can take you pretty far, and they have in several years, but you need more. You need more depth scoring. You need your goaltenders to step up in the playoffs. You need your defense to play tight, physical defense in the playoffs, and provide a little bit of offense here and there. Nothing overly absurd in the playoffs like you need in the regular season. I have them making the playoffs. If you want to say they're a cup contender, sure, you can throw that up there. You can make a case for it. If they're going to run it back with a similar team, I don't see them getting worse. I don't really see them improving either. Still the same questions kind of linger. The defense isn't as so much of a question. There's still plenty of room for improvement on that defensive line, defensive core, but it's not as bad as where it has been in past years. Slowly piecing together. You still got to sign Evan Bouchard too, so there's a lot of your salary cap gone. LA Kings, got to change colors real quick. I think get better in our Stanley Cup contenders. The steps that Byfield and Kaliev took this year were extremely encouraging in terms of their play, their point production, their 200-foot game. I think they're both of them next year are likely to have very good seasons. I don't know if either of them are going to be point per game player. If any of the two, it could be Byfield. I don't know. I probably wouldn't go that far, but if you get 60 to 70 points out of these guys, that's fantastic, and you'll take that. Other than that, the team's pretty much the same. You got questions on goaltending. You got a little bit of a question on defense. What are you going to do with the Sean Walker void? I think they'll be all right in filling that void, but The goaltending, you don't have a goaltender signed this upcoming year. You can re-sign Corpusalo, but on probably most teams, he's a backup goaltender at best. You gotta figure out a number one goaltender. This team isn't afraid to move assets. I think they'll find a number one goaltender in some way, shape, or form. Remember, they traded Brock Faber, who's been a very key piece in Minnesota's young youth movement. Faber's been pretty well. That came in the Minnesota Wild and Fiala deal. So they're not afraid to move these young pieces, these higher quality prospects, to start winning now. And I think it's worked for them so far. There's still room for improvement, but I think they get over that hump this year, and some of these younger guys stepping into lineup will continue to develop and continue to get better. And I think that's why they get better. I don't think they do too much. I think they get a goaltender, but I don't think they do too much other than that. But those guys you currently have will get better. For that, I think they're a cup contender. I could be wrong because they got bounced in the first round pretty handily this year. So you can always make that case, especially if they meet the Oilers in the first round again. I don't know. The Oilers have the Kings number. Next up, Seattle Kraken. Seattle Kraken staying the same. I don't know. I don't even... Fringe playoff team, I guess. It's a lot of depth, but it's not a lot of superstars. You don't have a potent or two potent scoring lines. You have four lines you roll, and each line contributes offensively as well as defensively. The defense is good. They play tight, structured defense. The goaltending, kind of a question mark. You're going to have Grubauer. Who's the other guy? Joey Decord down in Coachella Valley. He's looking excellent down there. Does he get a shot at being the backup or the starter if Grubauer has another brutal season? Again, Grubauer played well in the playoffs this past year, but his regular season stats as a Seattle Kraken have not been good. You need better. Or do you re-sign Martin Jones? And I don't really know what you do for goaltenders. Grubauer really throws a wrench in those plans. I think ideally you want to go out, get a number one goaltender, and have Grubauer as your backup. But that's a lot of money tied up in your goaltending. And is Decord ready? Does he need a chance to shine? Probably. But this is a team with a ton of cap space. They can go out and make some crazy move. They can start acquiring these guys that players or teams are looking to dump off to relieve cap that are still highly productive. So the Kraken could make moves. They could be just a strong team next year, a surefire team to make the playoffs. But at this moment, I don't think they're going to do too much. I think they're going to stay the course as they have throughout their entire history of, 2 years? 2 years now? I think they're still going to be a fringe playoff team, but I think they're still building towards the future. Next up, Flames. Woo! Flames are going to get worse. You got too many guys that are making it known they don't want to sign there long term. You got Toffoli now available for trade. You got Backlund, may not want to sign an extension there. You got Elias Lindholm, your number one center, one of the better two-way forwards in the entire league, who also puts up points, appears to not want to sign there long term. There's contract issues there. There's a lot of question marks with this team. You got Hannafin, who's probably a top-line defenseman at this point. Definitely top four defenseman. I like him a lot. I think he could be a top-line defenseman on most teams. Looks like he doesn't want to be there long-term. So you got a bunch of these guys on expiring contracts. You got to start trading. Do we see a rebuild or a retool? Trading out like one or two guys like, Tkachuk, you can get stuff back. They got stuff back. I think they did very well in the Tkachuk deal, considering they only had one option. They got back, a former MVP candidate and a top 25, top 20 defenseman. Both those guys need to have better seasons, and I think they will. But there are a lot of question marks about this team, just like the Jets. And a lot of these question marks are around key guys that they need to step up and produce if they want to have a shot at making the playoffs this year. So I'm not super confident. I don't think the Flames get better this year. It'll be interesting to see what they do. The new GM, Conroy, has a lot of lot of work ahead of him. He's definitely going to get his money's worth in salary this upcoming season. So sorry, Flames fans, it's not great news, but it's one of those things. It is what it is. Flames and Jets going through some turmoil in their with their negotiations at the moment. Canucks stay the same, probably about a 500 team in terms of wins losses. The Rick Tocchet may help at the beginning of the year, kind of get them off to an excited, good start. They may start the season strong, but I think the team's really going to show what they are as they get more comfortable with Rick Tocchet behind the bench. I have a lot of questions about their defense. They don't really have anyone signed on defense. I don't know. You got the scoring there, which is great, but you also need your forwards to play responsible defense. That sacrifices some of your scoring. So there's questions. You got Demko in that. You got some of these guys that are key pieces. Pettersson, at this point, probably a superstar player in the league. I'd probably consider him a superstar. Kid plays defense. Wasn't all that great at the defensive aspect of the game when he came in. He's pretty decent now. I wouldn't say he's like a top 10, top 15 centerman at playing defense, but he's definitely a lot more responsible in his defensive zone than he used to be. Guys, a point per game plus type of player. You got some key pieces there. You got Quinn Hughes. His defensive game's slightly improving. There's still, I know Canucks fans are going to hate me for this, but there's still a lot of room for improvement in his defensive game. I still think it's below league average. And that includes defensive defensemen too. He's an offensive defenseman. League average with Quinn Hughes is what you want. That's fine as long as he's producing offensively. There are guys on this team that can help this team win. I don't know. I don't think they're better than what their record was this past year. I just don't. And I don't think there's a whole lot they can do to improve it, if I'm being honest. The guys they have on LTIR may have cap relief for them in the beginning of the season. They may come back, and I don't think they make the team better. I don't think they make the team necessarily worse, but I don't think they make the team better. And what do you do with that cap relief? There's not a whole lot you can do with that cap relief if these guys come back. And if they don't, that's an extra $5 million you can spend this offseason. Where do you put that towards? Maybe like a singular defenseman who can play on your second pairing. I don't know. A lot of questions. This team needs to figure it out. It's been too many years of this nonsense. We're moving on to the Sharks now because, I don't know. Canucks. Sharks are getting worse, which is fine. They need to get worse before they get better. They're already a bottom of the barrel team. They should be in contention to win the first overall draft pick next season, and they very well might. They got to start selling off their pieces. They're going through the rebuild, but the GM Mike Grier has a very difficult task to even sell off the team. A lot of these contracts are really tough to move. Even your boy Erik Karlsson, $11 million contract is tough to move for a guy that is an offensive specialist, provides no defense. Come at me. That's not an argument. His defense it's rough. It's not John Klingberg bad, but it's pretty close. So, question marks. You got some veteran guys that a lot of money is tied up in. A lot of those contracts, again, not super movable. You got to let some of these contracts expire. You got to buy them out, but then you're paying cap penalties for longer. They're starting to build up their prospect pool. It's starting to get a little stronger, but this is turning into a long-term project, and it's one of those teams where you step into it when Mike Grier did, and there's not much you can do to sell off or change the team. So long-term thing, but I think they're going to keep trying to sell off, keep moving these guys out, try to get younger, try to get better, try to get higher draft picks, try to develop these guys. Yeah, this is a team that's going through a rebuild. The Ducks, I got a lot of hate last year because I said the Ducks were going to come in last place, which they did. I got a lot of hate. I'm going to go twofold here. I'm going to say about the same, maybe a little better. I got questions with the Ducks. I got a good amount of questions. What am I click? I'm just clicking on a whole bunch of stuff right now. I don't know what is going on. So there is that. Where are the Ducks? Here they are. So the Ducks, I think without John Klingberg and Kulikov on this team, I think their defense is automatically better. Kulikov in Minnesota looked awful in his own zone. He's versatile. He can play in every situation. You're not usually going to have him on the power play because there are typically better options, especially now at this day and age. A lot more offensive defensemen. But his defense isn't good. It's just not. He's a great guy, a great locker room guy. He can play on both sides of the puck. Both left and right defense. Like versatile, can play on the penalty kill if you need him to. But he's not a great defenseman. Klingberg statistically is one of the worst. He was the worst defenseman when they traded him last year in the entire league in almost every category. Like Klingberg is awful. Kulikov is not good. There's still some questions with this defense. You need Drysdale to come back and have a bounce back season and play well and continue to develop. The kid's only 21, but you need more from this kid. I think he was hurt pretty much all of last year. Cam Fowler could be on the move. We'll see. But you got some of these guys that kind of need to start stepping up, stepping in. I don't know how much better their defense is going to be. It's probably still going to be pretty bad. You got Gibson and net. I don't know. You got the same goaltenders coming back probably. Dostal. Stolars may hit the open market. He's an unrestricted free agent. Dostal is a restricted free agent. The reason I say they may get better is depending on how, assuming the Ducks draft Adam Fantilli, how he fits in. Fantilli, a center. You have Zegras. You have McTavish. Lundestrom can play center. You have Ryan Strome, right? So you're already pretty stacked down the middle. McTavish should continue to grow. He had a very strong rookie season. He should build on that. It should be a better year for him. I think the building blocks are there, and I think if you place better pieces around him, he's going to pop off and have a breakout year. A lot of potential with that player. I irrationally don't care for him. He's a great, very likable guy. So, I don't know. But I think he's a potential superstar if he continues to develop in the right way. So the offense could be there with this team. I still got questions. They still have to sign Zegras and Terry. They're both restricted free agents. Terry has arbitration rights. Zegras does not. But both, I think both these guys will probably end up signing pretty expensive long-term contracts. I think these are two players that the Ducks might overpay for now to secure them staying with this team and being a part of their future. And as the salary cap increases over the span of, I'm assuming they're both get signed for 8 years. Over the course of the 8 years, those contracts will level out, especially if these players become superstars, which they both should. You can make an argument that they both are now. I disagree with that. I think either player is a superstar at this point, but there's potential there for both of them. So you got questions, you got offense, you got a foundation. You need these guys to grow. You need these guys to have better years than they did last year. Almost everybody on the entire team needs to play better than they did last year. And I think a lot of these guys are more than capable of doing that. But do we see that? What do we see? Is this going to be another brutal year? Are they going to keep selling pieces? Are we going to see Adam Henrique gone? Are we going to see Silverberg get traded? Are we going to see Vetrano loaned out at the trade deadline? Brock McGinn, how does he fit into this, right? Cam Fowler, there's questions about Cam Fowler and John Gibson both being available for trade. There's a lot of going on here, and a lot of your veteran guys that don't really know where they're going to live a year from now, and it's not really up to them. Gibson and Fowler has a 4-team no trade list. Gibson has a 10-team no trade list. Henrique has a 10-team no trade list. Silverberg has a 12-team no trade list. So, right, there's plenty of options there. There are questions. I don't see the Ducks catapulting or even being a 500 team. They're going to have a losing record this year, and that's okay. They could improve upon their points totals this year. They were one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst. So they could improve upon that a little bit, but they also might be one of the worst teams again next year if these guys don't continue to build on the foundation they built so far. So who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? This is a weird division. A lot of questions. Some view this as the weakest division in the NHL. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but I think this is becoming a lot stronger of a division now. We'll see this division continue to get stronger over the years, hopefully, and kind of have the divisions even out a bit. But who do you have going to the playoffs? Understand if you want to throw shade about the Oilers being Stanley Cup contenders. Respectfully, I disagree, but I understand the argument that's there, and it's a valid one. I think it's just a difference of opinion. Kings, what do you think of them? The Kraken, do you think they're a fringe playoff team? Do you think they'll build on it? Do you think they'll be just a regular playoff team? They really probably aren't fighting for that wild card spot. Do the Ducks get better? Do they stay the same? Do they get worse? What are the Flames doing? I don't know. Good luck to Flames fans. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Yeah, that wraps up this series. I very much appreciate your time, and if you watch all of them, man, hats off to you, because I don't know if I could do that. So I appreciate you very much, and take care, all right?